everyone. Okay, guys, so today let's talk about different types of testing or testing types. Usually on the interview, this question will sound like, what types of testing do you know? What testing types you can name? So basically, there are a bunch of different types of testing that you can do for the same application based on your goals. So let's go one by one through all of them. So first one, requirements testing. Usually it's just documentation testing or user stories testing for completeness and consistency, that there are no contradicted statements, all error messages are described, all use cases described. So this kind of testing called requirements testing. If you have something to be used as requirements to base your test scenarios on it. Next one is static testing. So basically static testing, it's testing without running the application itself by looking at its source code. Usually it's being done by using some special tools like SonarQube or some other tools that can be integrated with CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous development. And usually it's managed and performed by developers themselves because it's involved complex technical setup. Next one, unit testing. Usually it's this type of testing is also being done by the developers themselves because it requires testing of each and every smallest unit of the code, like each function in the code. So in order to do unit testing, you need to have access to source code. You will not always have it. Next one, component testing. It's testing of separate components in installation using mocks, like testing some shared UI components like weather widget, card component, and so on as a standalone component outside the application. It's also usually being done by developers. Sometimes they can ask you to do that, but again, it's a complex type of test. It requires technical expertise. Next one, integration testing. So in general meaning, it's most likely API testing on the API level by sending HTTP requests and verifying responses. Usually it's direct QA responsibility. You can do this kind of testing manually, or you can automate them as well. Next one, system testing. The same, it's basically the same as end-to-end testing or user acceptance testing. It's testing that's been performed on the fully integrated environment with all the components installed and working all together. So you can test how the system behaves end to end, for example, from account creation and order placement till order fulfillment and so on. So that's the main type of testing that can prove that the system overall works fine and accordance with the requirements. Next one, functional testing. So there are functional requirements and non-functional requirements. Functional requirements, on the example of the Best Buy website, it's that the search should work, account creation should work, sorting, filtering should work, opening product cart should work, and so on. So that's functional testing, that functionalities work fine. And there are also non-functional requirements of non-functional testing. For example, that system should be able to handle 100k users simultaneously, that API responses shouldn't take more than 3 seconds, and so on. So that's high level separation of testing, so functional types and non-functional types. Among non-functional types, there are performance testing, load testing, stress testing. Basically, all of them are checking a little bit different directions in terms of performance of the website, its responsiveness, how many users it can simultaneously service, and so on. Features testing. Usually it's just it means testing of each and every task that you will have during the sprint, during the two-week sprint in Scrum development model. So basically it's your regular testing to test each feature separately. Again, as I said, that search works, that menu component works, that cart works fine, that you can place order, check it out, and so on. So this general, it's a general name or generic name for features testing. Now, also one of the most important ones is regression testing. Basically, it ensures that the new code changes that you are developing, for example, that the team was developing during the last week or two, didn't break any existing functionality. So basically, it's retesting of all the previously tested features. And usually it's been performed on the at the end of each sprint, like every 1 and 2 weeks. And usually you would like you would want to dedicate 2 or 3 last days of each sprint for this activity, because regression testing is basically the full testing of running the tests, that all the tests that you have right now. And if you work on the project, for example, half a year or a year, you would most likely probably have hundreds of thousands tests. So the goal of regression testing is to rerun, execute all of them. That's why it usually takes a lot of time, 2-3 days, even 5 days, depending on your QA team size and so on. So this one is really important. You should understand what it means. Smoke testing, or in some companies it's called sanity testing. Basically, it's just a quick small test run to check that the most critical functionality works. For example, that account creation works fine, order placement works fine. What's the difference between smoke testing and regression testing? Regression testing, you will check during regression testing, you will check all the possible account types, combinations, and so on. So it's full testing. Smoke testing usually shouldn't take more than 15 minutes or 1 hour. You just the main goal to check that right after the deployment to test environment, site is operational and can be used for testing. That's the purpose of smoke testing. So it's very small test set of the most critical feature of tests. Next one, compatibility testing or cross-browser testing. Basically, you should check how website behaves in different browsers. Like here, I'm using Google Chrome, but you should also test it in check how it behaves, how every feature behaves in Firefox, Safari, Edge on Windows, and other possible browsers that your application should support. And in most cases, you can ask your project manager which browsers we should support, especially for testing, because testing of each separate browser will take the same amount of time for regression testing. That's why usually we do not do testing, full complete testing in all the browsers. Usually, in most cases, you will be focused only on one browser, and most likely it will be either Chrome or Safari for Mac users. but just you will be doing some kind of exploratory testing or smoke testing in other browsers as well, just to see that layout is not broken and my functionality still works. So yes, compatibility testing, cross-browser testing. Also important to pay attention how the application behaves in different screen sizes, screen resolutions. So to check responsive design of the application. For example, if you go to here to this button, you can basically change the representation of the page on different screen sizes. Here you see it says responsive, but you can select some predefined resolution. So let's say in iPhone SE site will be looking like this, that nothing is overlapping to the left, to the right, that layout is not broken, it's interactable. You can still click on the product in this mobile view, check all the details, scroll down, see the application, all the sections are loaded and so on. So it's really important to test, because one of the main goals right now during the modern web development is to make all the websites responsive to screen resolution to the device that you are using. So basically it will be the same code base that you are using on your laptop, on, let's say, on the large screen. The code base is exactly the same as you will be opening this website on the on your phone, but it will look differently, because there will be some logic on UI side that will check your screen size and adjust some sizes of the elements and behavior of the elements. So it's also really important to don't forget to test on different responsive dimensions of screen resolutions. Next one, security testing to identify vulnerabilities or weaknesses in the security. I haven't done this kind of testing by myself because usually it's being done by the developers or by dedicated external audit team that specializes in this kind of testing, because it's really focused type of testing, and you should be using really special tools to do that. Localization testing is to check how well the website is localized to different languages. I'm not sure, does eBay Best Buy supports different languages? Let's open newskin.com. I know that this one supports. So localization is about changing this language on UI and see that all the elements are translated, site is in interactable, buttons unclickable, that currency will be changed accordingly. You see menu text on the menus and buttons has been changed, localized, translated. So that's localization testing. Usability testing, it's also the goal of usability testing is to check that user interface corresponds to some industry standards like ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act. For example, I'm not sure if we will see it here, but usually web elements on the web page has something like area label. Yeah, this one. So this one has been used by people with disabilities, screen readers, and so on. So this kind of testing or presence of such area labels should be conducted as part of usability testing, as well as how convenient it is to interact with the website. For example, how many forms are there in order to create your account. I know that eBay, for example, a long time ago had like 20 steps in the first form for account creation, and then some guys changed this process, simplified all the forms to just one simple screen with a few possible selection of options, and basically that's allowed them to attract more users to their website. So that's also part of usability testing, can be considered as part of the usability testing. Next one, exploratory testing or ad hoc testing. So it's just testing without predefined test cases, when somebody will tell you just go and do some exploratory testing. So basically you will not be following any predefined plan. You will be just testing what you see. For example, you will go to, you will check that, you will test basically everything that you are seeing on the screen, like that search works fine, that product page can be opened when you're not following some strictly defined test scenarios. So just the main goal of this ad hoc testing or exploratory testing is to quickly check that the site works fine without the need to write detailed test cases, just to mostly to save time and effort, not to document everything that you are doing. But sometimes you will hear this terminology anyway. I mean, exploratory testing and ad hoc testing, that's why I put it here. And the last two, alpha testing and beta testing. So basically it's one of the latest stages of testing. Alpha testing is being conducted usually by the internal dev team before releasing software to external users. On practice it's rarely used, but anyway, I want you guys to know that beta testing is used much often. It's when you release or giving access to your website that is still in development to some group of external users, real users, for real world testing, to gather their feedback, to collect their feedback, to understand if they like it or not. Maybe they can give your team some useful insights how to change some registration process or any functionality that they see that is not really convenient to use. Overall, there are a bunch of other types of testing that I haven't mentioned, I guess, but these are all the main. So you see, only I was able to name 19, or at least to document 19 of them. So it's not like software testing is just one type of testing. It involves different kinds of testing with different goals, and usually QA manager or QA team lead will be determining what types of testing you plan to do as a team overall. So it shouldn't be purely on your shoulders to decide what testing to do when, what types of testing to do. So yeah, overall just be aware that there are a bunch of different types of testing. The most important ones, I guess, you should know what the unit testing is, regardless that it's being done by the developers. Integration testing, system testing, end-to-end testing, E2E testing, functional, non-functional, regression, smoke. So these are the minimal types of testing that you should be able to name during the interview and to tell the difference between them. Also, one of the frequently asked questions, what is different between regression testing and smoke testing? What would you include to smoke test and what will be included in regression testing? Again, just follow the definition. You should answer that regression testing should include all the tests that we currently have, because we want to check that nothing is broken and all functionalities, even those that haven't been touched during the recent development, still works fine. And smoke testing is just a smoke quick sanity check that website after deployment is not broken, that you can at least create an account, let's say. Okay guys, that's it.